She thought everyone else was ahead of her, until she realized they were just louder. Elena felt like she was watching a movie of everyone else's life, while her own film reel was stuck on a single, silent frame. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a daily, quiet ache. Friends were posting wedding photos, their smiles so bright they seemed to mock the muted grey of her apartment walls. Colleagues were announcing promotions on LinkedIn, their career ladders extending into a sky she couldn't even see. It felt like everyone had received a script for their life, a detailed plan, and were hitting their marks perfectly. Hers, it seemed, was lost in the mail. She spent her evening scrolling, a spectator in the arena of life. Each post, each story, was a small, sharp reminder of her own stillness. The comparison wasn't a conscious choice. It was a reflex, like breathing. She'd seed an old classmate buying a house, and a wave of quiet shame would wash over her. Why hadn't she saved more? Her friend traveling through Europe would spark a familiar pang of self-doubt. Why wasn't she more adventurous? She told herself it was patience, that her time would come. But deep down, she knew it wasn't patience. It was a disguise for fear, the fear that she had somehow missed her start. That the starting gun had fired, and she was still tying her shoelaces. Her life felt like a waiting room with no one to call her name. One rainy Tuesday, while looking for an old charger, she stumbled upon a box tucked away in her closet. Inside, beneath forgotten letters and ticket stubs, was a worn, navy blue notebook. She didn't recognize it at first. The cover was soft with age. Curiosity piqued. She opened it. The pages were filled with her own looping, youthful handwriting. It was a dream journal from a decade ago, but these weren't the dreams she thought she wanted. There was no mention of a corner office, no checklist for a picture-perfect family. Instead, she had written about learning to play the cello. She had sketched out a plan to spend a summer volunteering at an animal sanctuary. There was a list of classic films she wanted to watch, and a surprisingly detailed outline for a novel about a time-traveling librarian. These were dreams she had completely forgotten, whispers from a version of herself she no longer knew. They were quiet dreams, personal ones, not the loud, shiny ambitions she had borrowed from the lives she saw online. She had spent so long trying to replicate the blueprints of others that she had forgotten she ever knew how to draw her own. There was no grand epiphany, no lightning strike of motivation. The shift was subtle, like the turning of a page. It was an internal realignment, a quiet click as a piece of her own puzzle settled back into place. She didn't suddenly have a 5-year plan. She didn't feel a frantic need to catch up to anyone. Instead, she felt a sense of relief, a gentle untangling of a knot she didn't even realize was so tight. The noise of everyone else's life began to fade, replaced by a soft, internal hum. The next weekend, she didn't scroll. She went to the library and checked out a book on cello basics. It was a small step, almost invisible to the outside world, but it wasn't for the outside world. It was for her. She was no longer running a race against others. She was simply walking her own path, at her own pace, guided by a compass she had just rediscovered. She realized her life hadn't been paused. It had just been on the wrong channel, playing someone else's show. Now, she was finally tuning back to her own. If you ever feel like you're falling behind, that everyone is racing past you, just remember this. You're not late to your life. You're just early for the version that actually fits you. The truest timelines aren't the ones we see celebrated online. They are the ones we build quietly, from the inside out, based on the dreams we almost forgot were ours. Thanks for watching.